Hi, I'm Gary Lawless. This is Lawless in the Morning, brought to you by the Winnipeg Free Press. Today's song of the day, we're going to do this. We're going to pick a song every day, and we're going to make it the track of the day. And unfortunately, if you're not a Springsteen fan, you're going to be disappointed because a lot of the songs will be Bruce Springsteen. Today's is No Surrender. The winter is hanging around. All of us Winnipeggers want to get rid of the winter, but no surrender, folks. We'll make it to spring. Read of the day. And part of this job is to sort of scan the newspapers, and we all have access to lots of great stuff to read on the internet. And my friend Steve Buffery of one of the Toronto papers wrote a great piece today on Jeff O'Neill, the former NHL player turned broadcaster. Both of these guys have gruff exteriors and big hearts. I know them both quite well. And they are really nice fellas. They have a rough exterior. Steve Buffery is as hard-boiled a newsman as you'll come across. He is a real great writer, and actually two of the best stories I've read this winter on hockey. He got the first face-to-face with Randy Carlyle, went and knocked on his door, old-school newspaper style, and Carlyle invited him in, and this was after Randy was fired by the Leafs. They sat down and had a long 20-minute chat, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it was, about a lot of stuff. Randy made him coffee, I think, and Beezer had a great little piece. And today he writes a story about Jeff O'Neill and how O'Neill calls it like it is. And in this story there is a reference to Jeff's brother Donny, who I got to know a little bit when he was captain of the Peterborough Petes, where I grew up, my hometown Peterborough. And Donny died in a tragic car accident when O'Neill was actually playing in the NHL for the Carolina Panthers. And O'Neill went to Jim Rutherford, who was then GM of the Hurricanes, not Carolina Panthers, the Hurricanes, and said, I need to go home. You need to trade me to Toronto. I need to be near my mom and dad. And Rutherford gave him his wish and made the deal, traded him to Toronto. And then O'Neill talks a little bit about how hard it was to play, dealing with that grief. And, we dehumanize these guys so often. They are just a stats line and a salary to us. And, clearly they're just like you and me. They have lives, they have wives, they have siblings, they have parents. Cancer touches them, car accidents touch them, you name it. And it's a real neat look inside to what O'Neill brings to the job as a broadcaster today, because you can't argue, this guy is fascinating, must-see TV, must-listen radio on a daily basis, his work with TSN. And he talks about why he approaches it the way he does approach it. And then Buffery is able to also take you a little bit behind and show you who O'Neill is and the story about the trade and about his brother's tragic death are a real good reading. Well done, Beezer. Yesterday I got to go to the Montreal Canadiens, their practice, and all the Montreal media was there. There was a little bit of Winnipeg media there, and it was real fascinating to see the way the Habs work, how they do things. With Michel Therrien, his press conference after the practice, the media asked a bunch of questions in French for about 10 minutes, and then, at a certain point in time, Dominic Sale, the very capable Habs media man, said, okay, that's enough. And then it switched to English, and then, the rest of us asked our questions in English, and it was Therrien gave long answers, stood there, and there's an interesting relationship between the Canadiens and the media. The media, being the French and English, is very powerful in Montreal, and they get their due respect. It was fun to watch. Carey Price, I got to speak with him, and he was not, he had planned to sort of take the day off from the media, and he was told by Dominic Sale that, one of the Winnipeg guys came here just to see you, and Carey came out and happily gave me 10 minutes. We chatted for, and I'll never forget this. At one point in time in the interview, my recorder fell. I dropped it, and he bent down to pick it up, and that was, to me, it's just a little thing, but it shows you who he is and the kind of person he is, and like I said before when we were talking about ONeill and Buffer. We do forget these guys are humans. And Carey Price showed me, just by accident, a little bit of his the other side of him. A great story from Max Pacioretty, talking about last year in Sochi at the Olympics. You know, everyone was from NHL teams, but you're there, you're playing for your country. So, you know, that becomes the most important thing. So when the Americans were playing the Czechs, you know, the coaching staff said to Blake Wheeler, okay, Pavlik's your goalie, what are his tendencies? And it was Wheeler's job to sort of, you know, say a few things about Andrei Pavlik. And when they played the Swedes, some of the guys, the Americans that played for the Rangers, had to talk about Henrik Lundqvist and on and on and on. Well, then it's Pacioretty. They get to play the Canadiens, and they say to Pacioretty, tell us about Carey Price. What are his weaknesses? And he said, well, I couldn't stand up and say there were no weaknesses, so I made something up. I said, if you're going to shoot blocker. And that, obviously, and then Max said, Carey doesn't have any weaknesses. That's in my column that's today in the Winnipeg Free Press. The Jets got a little help last night on the out-of-town scoreboard. The Calgary Flames only picked up a point. So now the Jets and the Flames are even in games, and the Jets have a one-point edge on the Flames. The Jets still ahead of the Los Angeles Kings as well. Boy, that last game here in Winnipeg, that afternoon game versus the Flames, might be the biggest game of the season. All of Canada will be watching that one. It's really exciting, folks. I'm enjoying the playoff race, and I hope you are. It's a fun time for Winnipeg. Have a great time at the game tonight. Be safe, and we'll see you soon.